Jesus knows very well what a hard job he has to convey the truth of the will of God to people who simply cannot hear him, even though they're standing right there and well within range of his voice. And Jesus, being the good teacher that he is, often resorts to things that, if we're not careful, can seem to be very shocking, or even to contradict something that he has said previously. Jesus knows very well that the people in the area served by his earthly ministry are deeply divided. Today, we are fond of calling them red states and blue states, but the people of the first century in Judea were actually far more divided, experienced a great deal more of mutual hatred than anything that you or I, who live in 21st century America, have ever witnessed. And even those people who had been with Jesus for years are not exempt from that bias. Even up to the point of today's gospel, the followers of Jesus, even the 12 apostles, are absolutely convinced we know exactly what God is all about. And we know that when we say that God is faithful to his promises, he's talking about people like me, and absolutely not talking about those people over there. Jesus knows how stubborn they're being, how deeply biased they are, how deeply mistaken they are. This is a cultural feature of ancient Israel for a period of centuries. And so when Jesus and the disciples meet this Canaanite woman, the first thing that Jesus does when they meet her is to take the misunderstanding, to take the antipathy and the very real hatred that even those close to him still feel, and he throws it right back at them. And the Canaanite woman, because she is so deeply convinced that this is the truth and the way and the life that he says he is willing to endure any sacrifice, any humiliation, any rejection. And she goes to Jesus knowing that the possibility of healing, the possibility of wholeness, the possibility of new life is possible in him. And when this becomes clear to the disciples, to the apostles, Jesus tells her, "Go, your faith saved you." Not meaning solved all of your problems or answered all of your questions or settled all of your conflicts. But he is telling her a different version of what he told the second thief at Calvary. I will remember you when I enter into my kingdom. And the place and the conditions of your birth will have nothing to do with it. But because you, in sincerity of heart, have faith in me, you will know restored integrity. You will know restored dignity. You will know restored intimacy. You will know the full love that your Father in heaven, who created you knowing all of these things, has held for you from the very beginning of time. So let us take this gospel as sort of a searchlight of our own hearts. Is there anyone in the world, anyone within my circle of influence, anyone within my family perhaps, that I've given up hope on, that I believe that has gone so far, has become so estranged from our Lord, that I believe that they are beyond hope? And let us go forward with a new message. This is exactly what I believe that Pope Francis has been trying to tell us for the past 10 years. Our dialogue with the world is broken. And there are far too many people around us who either have given up complete hope that restoration and healing and wholeness and new life is even possible for them, or if they manage to muster the courage to go in search of the new life in Jesus Christ, look upon the Catholic Church and say, well, I'm absolutely sure I'm not going to find it there. And we cannot sit here and wait, as we have for a matter of centuries ourselves, for them just to come. Our own history as American Catholics has lulled us into inattention and into inaction. For the first 150 years or so after the founding of the Archdiocese of Baltimore, the first Catholic Church in America, well, we didn't really have to do anything. We just had to wait for more immigrants to show up, and show up they did, and the church began to grow and to thrive. For the next 100 years or so, when immigration began to plateau, the church really started to grow and thrive because of the fruitfulness of our families. And again, we didn't really have to do anything. All we had to do was show up and take up our spot. And ever since, the relative unfruitfulness of our families have caused the church to begin to dwindle. We've been far too prone to point to things outside of ourselves. At first it was, evil rock music, or the sexual revolution, or the culture. We've come up with all kinds of names. The culture of death. We've come up with all kinds of names for the affliction of the church, which is always out there somewhere. And I pray that we come to the realization that while there is some truth to all of that, the real reason why the church is waiting for purification, why the church is waiting for restoration, why the church is waiting to begin to grow and thrive again, is not because of something that's going on out there. It's because of something that's going on right here. Right here. And until I am convicted that everything that I need in order to be a clear, confident instrument of God's will in the world that He created me to serve, things will continue to flounder. But in the very moment when I go with sincerity of heart and I say, Lord, I see you, I hear you, And Lord, I want you to come to my heart. And where you find ignorance, Lord, I want you to bring truth. And where you find malice, Lord, I want you to bring mercy. And where you find weakness, Lord, I want you to bring strength and perseverance. And Lord, where you find self-interest, I want you to bring holiness. And maybe more than anything else, Lord, I need you to increase my confidence that when you do these things, not if you do these things, Lord, when you do these things, I will be created anew. I will become more fully and authentically who you created me to be than I ever have been before, regardless of what my own personal history brought me. And then I will go forward as a clear, confident instrument of your will in the world that you created me to serve.